Okay. I'm so excited. I love that you guys are on here. So thank you guys for joining me. I know some of you will be watching the recording, but I love doing this every year, mostly just because it's accountable for myself. But I've learned so much in these vision calls and these workshops. I started doing them actually with some of my business partners, and it was really helpful for us to kind of establish guidelines and kind of foundations. And we also would really collaborate on what we were going to work on in the new year, how we were going to change the dynamics of our business. And then it just kind of evolved into allowing clients to be a part of it and help them understand realistic goals and what they can look like. Some people will use the term resolution, some people hate it. So, whatever that term is for you, I don't really care. It could be anything. I mean, maybe it is a New Year's resolution because maybe you stick to your New Year's resolutions. I know, studies show that some people don't. They burn out come February, March timeframe. I don't know, but I don't want that to be a reality for you guys. I want our resolutions to turn into a reality. So these are some just a really simple kind of brain dumping system that I've done every year, and it works because I keep it actually the side of my desk. I'll show you, but I'm going to walk you through what we do. So I have it here, super sophisticated. I know you guys can't see it, but I'll show you it and show you what it looks like. But I keep it right next to my desk. It goes right here. So right next to my artwork for my kids. But I really just want you guys to be open-minded to it. Maybe just take what this kind of format can be, and then perhaps when you're sitting in a quiet space, maybe tonight, put on some quiet music, just something that's calming. Maybe you get a glass of wine. I mean, whatever. There's no rules behind how and where you do it, or that you have to do it right here and now. Some people are just wanting the prompts on and some ideas on how to kind of make it all happen. So, you know, first and foremost, you guys are probably all heard of SMART goals, right? Making sure that they are realistic, right? They're measurable, they are obtainable, they are what we got realistic, and they're time bound. Okay, so keep all of that in mind when you're setting up your goals. So we'll use kind of the generic one that most everybody has is, what, I want to get healthier. Maybe it's weight loss, maybe it's getting into a workout routine, maybe it's starting a meditation practice, or it is starting some sort of different routine that is going to align with whatever that improved health is for you, right? So let's use weight loss, for instance. Say what, I want to lose 20 pounds this year. Okay, great. Like that has to be an element to it, but how is that going to be how are you going to get there? Like, what is that reverse engineered plan? So I want to kind of walk through what some of that is. And so the beginning, I suggested getting just a blank piece of paper. This is, the cheapest, wire bound book you could find, and a piece of paper, or and a pen. And what that piece of paper will be is basically a complete brain dump, like diarrhea on a piece of paper. Anything in here, empty it out. And for me, I have to be in a space where I'm inspired. And sometimes a lot of that comes oddly during a workout. I've shared with a lot of you guys that I have started meditating. So I meditate every morning. When I teach live classes, I meditate before. It helps me kind of set my tone and my energy for my classes that I bring. But also a lot of ideas come to mind. But also after a workout is when I'm incredibly inspired. So I want you to first own the time of day that you feel the most inspired. And if it's not right now, that's okay. But at least hopefully you're going to take notes to say, okay, this is what I need to do, because I want to really start understanding what I want 2021 to be, right? Or maybe you do this every month. I mean, this could be something that you do every single month. It doesn't just have to be, it's the end of the year, let's set some new goals, right? Going into a new year. I think a lot of people have things that they need to work through. And something that I read in, I'm doing a manifesting challenge. Terry's actually doing it with me with a gal named Gabby Bernstein. And I've been reading her books. Super Attractor is the one I'm reading right now. Her other book is Universe Has Your Back. And she sent out an email today, just kind of gearing us up for the challenge and talking about 2020 and what it meant for each of us, right? Everybody got something out of this year. And I really hope that you can find all the good that it brought, and learn from any hardships that maybe it brought to us as well. I mean, there was a lot of crap, right? And there still is. We're still dealing and dwelling within it. But what can you take from it that was good? And what have you learned that can help you start putting those foundational pieces in place to set and reach those goals in the next year? Or even if you start kind of short term and you look to just January. Some people are just month by month. Like, I can't set a whole year long goal because you know what? I don't know what's going to happen. Right. When I did this last year at the end of 2019, we had no clue that our whole worlds were going to get flipped upside down. Right. So we had to kind of readjust. So I had to understand, okay, what am I going to do about this? How am I going to reassess everything? And so it's almost like I had to flip the script and revisit this whole practice to say, okay, well, I wrote all of this out. How am I going to make this happen? Right. So I had to keep it next to my computer, and I had to know that this was my vision and these were my goals. So this is my brain dumping. It's prettier because I'm the type that I'm a little bit kind of OCD. Like, I can dump a bunch of stuff on there, but then I have to transfer it so it looks a little prettier. And then I do the brain mapping piece to it. So let's just work on kind of the big picture. And I want you guys to think about what that big picture goal is. Maybe it is health related. Maybe it's career oriented. Maybe you want to make a career change. You want to start a business. You want to enhance your business, or you want a promotion of some sort. Maybe you want to build or buy a new house. Maybe you're looking for love, or maybe you're looking to get out of a relationship. Like, everybody has something that is pretty substantial. And I want you to truly embrace what that is. Okay. And that is going to be your long-term goal. That's your big picture. All right. So at the top of your lined page or your lined paper is, I want you to write 2021 vision. Okay. So 2021 vision. And anything that goes on that piece of paper is free game. And it doesn't have to be thought out. It doesn't have to be methodical. It doesn't have to be in order. I just want that to be something that, like I said, when I finish my meditation practice, I have a notebook now that is in my workout room that I just literally let anything that came to my head be dumped out onto that piece of paper. So there is no rhyme or reason to it. And that is kind of the beauty of how I've been able to process a lot of information that's been kept up in here, is just getting it out on a piece of paper, because now I've released it. Right. But it's also inspired, like, oh my God, it'd be so cool to do that. Right. So when I did this back in 2018, I wanted to get my nutrition certification, or a nutrition certification. And I spent so long in 2018 trying to figure out which one it was going to be. And there were so many options, and it's overwhelming. So someone in my industry, I mean, you get fed, options all the time, but I knew that I couldn't do a cookie cutter one, because that was not how my brain thinks and how I wanted my practice to be. So I had to kind of sit and marinate on it. And then all the signs through the universe kind of pointed to the direction of going the route that I did. And it was a year-long course. I am a shortcut type of person sometimes. So I, could have gone for the one that was quick and dirty and was done in 3 months or a couple weeks for that matter. And I know I'm on the phone, my book. And, but I knew that that's not what I wanted to get out of it. So I had to sit and understand what that was going to be. And for that was going back to the Institute of Integrative Nutrition. Best decision I made. It took me a year, but it was worth everything. And I prayed on it. I waited for signs from the universe. I mean, it sounds really hokey because I'm a very spiritual person. So if you are really tapped into your faith, I want you to lean into that and allow those words and those thoughts to just make their way onto the piece of paper. And that's going to help build towards and reverse engineer that long-term vision, right? That long-term goal, that big picture that you want to accomplish, right? So your first step is list top of the paper, 2021 vision, and just allow the thoughts to be released. I mean, you can get out all the angry thoughts you had, allowing it to be blessed and released, right? Like I said, there's no judgment, there's no rules. If you had a terrible year and everything just went wrong as a result of, all the things that happened, write it out. Why? What was it? What was it? I mean, we obviously know probably it was a result of, but what came of it? And looking to the good of everything that happened in 2020. What did you learn from it? Hopefully we come out of this stronger, have a little bit more confidence, have a little bit more faith, have a little bit more trust and belief in ourselves and our perseverance, right? So of those words, I hope that you develop a mantra or a word that you will stick and remind yourself with. So I've had, I work one-on-one with clients, but I also in my nutrition group, which many of you guys are a part of, I am speaking to, I will post today. You guys will see that, those of you that are in my group, understanding what your theme or your word is for the year. And it might change as the year goes on. Like I said, you know what, come January and February of last year, I was like all hot on my term and my goals. And then I kind of had to flip the script a little bit and make an adjustment, knowing now all the kids were home and, our life just changed considerably. So what is that word and that theme going to be for you, and allowing it to just kind of make its way through all of the thoughts that come out onto that piece of paper. Again, you don't have to do this right now. This is something that I want you to feel like you've got a distraction-free space to do it. My goal was to give you guys the prompts and the tools that have been super successful for me in the last couple of years. And by having them written out on paper, by sharing what they are with people, it's really helped me have basically my line of defense, but really just have everybody in my life that needs to be there for a certain reason, right? Because they fulfill something, because I've been able to put it out in the universe. I put it out on a piece of paper, and every single one of you guys are in my life for a reason. And I'm super grateful for, in every capacity, whether, we're just connected on Facebook or Instagram, or you become a client of mine, or you were a client in the past, or came to my classes here in Seattle, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. There's a way that, we were all introduced in some way, and that makes me so appreciative. But I've really called to that. And I call to that every single year. And actually I called to that today when I was meditating, is really allowing people to come into my life that I can serve in some way, but yet they're going to serve me back in another way. Maybe it's through a new friendship. Maybe they're going to teach me something, Thank you, love. I learned something from every single friendship or every single client that I have, and I don't take it lightly. I could go on in detail about every single one of you that are on here, as a matter of fact. But I want to make sure that we can be productive here as well. But my point is, by putting all this stuff out on a piece of paper, or even just if you're a cutout magazine articles or images and paste them on a board. I'm not that type. I really tried, you guys. I even tried, you can go on Pinterest and you can create vision boards, which I have all mine on there, but I'm not a Pinterest person. So this is my vision board. This is how sophisticated I get. But it works for me because it's visual. I have the words spelled out. Okay. So let's talk about how to get to there. So you're going to brain dump again, like put on some meditation music, some yoga music, some gangster rap, some like hardcore Slayer music, like whatever that is for you that brings out those creative juices, put it on. Maybe it's, your favorite shows on Netflix and you're just, kind of have it running in the background. Again, there's no rules, but I do really encourage you to be distraction free. Not having your device, it's, pinging you every time an email comes through or a notification on Facebook or a text message. Just allow that time to be protected for you. So you have the opportunity to let those ideas come right out on paper. So you're brain dumping everything. Then I encourage you to take all of that information that you wrote out on a piece of paper and then make it a little bit more organized. So you're going to start kind of having categories of things that start to, feed their way into what that big picture is. And our goal is, when you get to this brain mapping, this is kind of the third phase. And I feel like having all of that information kind of trail into one another, and then I keep them all together. So on this prettier brain dump, it's funny, I've got like artwork on the back of it too. I ask what my priorities are. And so last year, because I haven't done this, this prompts me to do mine. So I spent this morning actually getting a lot of information um, for it. But understanding what my priorities are. So I said, what are my priorities? And I wrote down what it was. Last year, it was to generate more revenue. And how was I going to do that? Right? What did that look like for me? Because that was a priority for us and our family in order to, you know, have our children be able to go to the schools that they do. So for me, and also for me, it's not just about material things. So I preface that in, and I wrote it down, that it's not because I want more money for material things, not to go buy a new car or a fancy purse or, you know, another pair of Lululemons or whatever, but it was because that meant that I accomplished something that was significant to me. If I was making more money, I was making an impact for my line of business. I was making an impact on someone's life, and that was important to me. But I had to know that that meant that I had to, you know, I had to hustle. I had to present that that energy and that opportunity for our relationship to happen, for that experience to be, you know, met through Instagram or Facebook or whatever it was going to be, through referrals, you know, which that's primarily how my business have grown last year. But I also wrote that down, is that I wanted most of my growth to come because of introductions and relationships that transpired from either friends of friends or through social media. You know, I don't, my business didn't grow because somebody just like randomly clicked on my link in Instagram and boom, I, you know, like I had a windfall of people. I'm a very, you know, relationships based person. So whatever your business is or whatever your goal is, maybe it's not even to, you know, generate income of any regard, but to be health conscious or something. What is your priority? So that is at the top of my page. And then my goals of what those, you know, what is going to basically feed into that priority, like how am I going to accomplish it, what are my goals, and what am I not willing to do, right? And so I had to kind of address what I wasn't willing to do in order to get there. And so for me, that was, I was not going to compromise my integrity, right? And so, you know, you can think to that, if your goal is not to increase your business or job change or whatever, but it is health related, maybe you're compromised. I'm not going to diet, right? I'm not going to count calories. I'm not going to cut out food groups. I'm not going to be thinking restrictive and penalize myself and hate the process and, you know, put the negative attachment to whatever that is. So for me, I wasn't going to attach anything negative to the process. I wasn't going to think that by helping somebody in exchange for a fee, that that was going to make me feel bad about the process. You know, like nobody likes to exchange money or give money to somebody for something, but because it always kind of feels weird. But I had to find a way that I was going to be okay with it, and what it wasn't going to, like, what I wasn't going to do, right? Like I wasn't going to go um, and message people cold that didn't know me or didn't know what I did, right? I wasn't going to compromise my integrity that way. So I also wasn't going to work 15, 16 hours a day to accomplish that. I wasn't going to compromise my time on my with my family. Even when, you know, COVID hit and quarantine, like I still had to find a way to make it work. So how did I align my priorities with that? And what was I not going to do? I'm not going to sit on my computer until 10, 11 o'clock at night doing work, because guess what? It's going to be there the next day. And that's a lot of things that I talk about with clients when we are getting our health in order, is to address those mindset practices. And for those clients of mine, that is actually a practice that we're going to talk about here going into our kind of reboot phase, is what are those mindset practices that we can have that are build that foundation so you can have the fix your long-term priority be, you know, something that is a reality that you that comes true. But if you don't get other things in order, that center thing, whatever it's going to be that you want to accomplish, isn't going to happen by just, you know, writing it out on a piece of paper. You kind of have to have things that feed into it, like baby steps. So writing out your goals, and then what are the actual activities, or what are the things, the baby steps that are going to take in order for you to get there. So when I did that big brain dump, I started to identify little things that I knew would be attached to that bigger goal. So I'm going to show you, I love these brain map things, you know, when you write your big thing in the center and then you have little, you know, like you guys probably did it. We did this in high school, right? Junior high even. And it's been such a great visual for me. So I have my big, it was the fact that I was wanting for revenue growth, income was in the center. And then what was that meant for me? And so I had 5 categories that came out of that brain dumping, 5 categories that were going to help me grow. And all of those were things that I had to make sure were going to help me, help it be an authentic and also something of integrity, but also things that were going to be fulfilling for me. Like I don't want to just go and sling a product at anybody. Like I wanted to truly change the way they looked at themselves. I wanted to change the way, their nutrition strategy was. I wanted them to think differently about workouts. But I also needed to learn and, adapt as well. So 2019 was me getting my nutrition certification under my belt. And then how was I going to enhance and grow and build on that? So me, going and studying and taking other little certifications that fulfilled that. But also other things outside of that big goal, real estate investments, what other areas that I could, have that be a feeder. So just reflecting back, saying you guys don't need to know and be bored to tears with what mine was, but that big center piece, the big square box. So in the center, I'm going to get my piece of paper and, I was not a teacher at all, so don't expect anything to look any of significance. But if you guys are visual people like me, I'm gonna draw it out for you. So I have a big rectangle in the middle with my word, AKA goal. And then 2, 3, 4. And I think the 5th one is just for good measure. You might have 6. Who knows? You might have 7. But you guys see that okay? So in the center, that is your goal. That is your long-term vision. That is your long-term goal. The big picture is right here. And then these boxes, these little circles that are spidering out from it are going to come from that brain dump. What areas of your life do you need to account for in order to reach that? What are those bait? And then from here, boom, boom, boom. I mean, you guys, I'm not a very sophisticated person in any regard. So the simpler, the better, right? So this is simple for me. Like I can wrap my brain around it because I'm not going to go cut out a bunch of magazines. If you are the type to do that, by all means, I'd love to see it actually, because that's inspiring to me. Maybe it's a big fancy house that you find out of HGTV. Maybe it's Cindy Crawford you've cut out and you put, I don't care. And maybe she's on here. Damn, I want to look like her when I'm her age. So like all of these things, these are kind of like the I don't want to say the baby steps, because I think the baby steps come from the little ones outside of this box, right? So you've got your big picture that's in the center, and then the kind of categories, if you will, that are going to influence that, right? So let's use the example of maybe, and I'm just going to say, because I had like 4 phone calls this week with new clients about their goals, and most of them were to identify their hormones and why they weren't losing weight and just they had low energy. So I'm going to use that as an example without getting detailed to compromise anybody. But understand, so maybe the center is like hormone balance or hormone control or weight loss. Okay, let's just use weight loss because that's a pretty generic one. What could these categories be to get there? Well, for me, one of them would be meditation. Okay, so if I write meditation, well, what is that gonna, what's that look like? Well, I spend 10 minutes in the morning. Maybe I spend 10 minutes at night. So, meditation's gonna go right here. Yeah. And then morning meditation, read books. I'm gonna listen. Do I need guided meditation? Do I just listen to music? Do I sit in the quiet? Like all those things that are gonna resonate with me, I'm gonna put there, or that I wanna learn. And so taking this manifesting challenge, I think I've told probably many of you guys, there's a book by Joe Vitale. It's called The Attractor Factor. It's like the law of attraction meets the power of positive thinking. And I am a firm believer. I've read that book over and over. I think the first time I read it was in 2016. So powerful. And I've always carried elements of that book with me. And so I really, truly believe that you can manifest most anything that you want but you actually have to put the work and the energy into it every single day, whether it's thinking about it or doing something about it, so it all can align and the universe can bring it into your life spiritually, faithfully, whatever that is for you. Okay. So, weight loss. I do think that being in with your thoughts, manifesting, meditating, just having the resolve to spend time with yourself in quiet can do a whole host of amazing things for yourself. I had to lean into meditation when quarantine hit because I was a raging bee. I don't know if there's kids around in some of the backgrounds. I see Tracy's got her daughter there, so I don't want to say. But I felt like, hey, Jimmy, speaking of, and then I have a dog, another dog. So I felt like I was just like erratic. I was cursing, tried not to, like, it wasn't terrible, but I just didn't feel like I was a good person. I was so irritated. I was frustrated. I was mad at everything that was going on. My life changed because now my kids were home, and it was so selfish. And I had to stop myself to go, what the hell am I thinking? I have the ability to be here with my kids. What am I going to do about this? So I had to turn to meditation. It makes me sad because I felt so awful. And it's not perfect. I'm not perfect. Like, there's mornings that I wake up and I'm like, God, I was such a bitch last night. But sitting in thoughts and thinking about it, it's really powerful. God, I wasn't expecting to get emotional. But it's brought so much to my life. I've learned so much. I studied people. I've asked people what they've done to meditate because I can't shut my brain off. My brain is always going. But I found meditational practices that gave me permission, basically, that it was okay, that those thoughts were just always going through my mind. Like, I always said I could never do yoga because I just couldn't shut my brain off. But it's okay because that's just how I'm wired. But that was a tool that I needed to be able to serve where my life was at that point. So I had to reassess what my goals were. Okay, if I still wanted to be on point with them, what was I going to do about it? Well, I know that I needed that to change. And so I needed to do something about it. So that became one of my little categories. Okay. So, and I think that should be in everybody's life, regardless of what it is. If you have a goal for weight loss, or you have a goal to change your career, or you have a goal building your dream house, spending time with the thoughts that it's going to take to get there. All right. Okay. Moving on. Your next one could be, and I'll use my other one, Jimmy. See what I mean? Maybe it is like you've got one category is meal prep. Going back to the health component is meal prep. Okay. So when's that? Every Sunday. It's going to take 2 hours. I'm going to prioritize it. It is meaningful. It is, non-restrictive. It is family oriented, so those are the things that could be revolved around meal prep, right? Maybe one category is like, for me, I wanted to go back and I wanted to get more education. So I think educating ourselves, regardless of what your goal is so important, because the more that you learn about whatever it is, and that's why I dove into more nutrition books, and most of my personal development stuff that I listen to is either like inspiring, empowering things, or it is like learning about nutrition. And I always listen to them. I can't read because I can't focus. Just a little bit. Okay. So I think education is huge, and I think it can transcend into anything that your big picture goal is. Okay. So pick whatever those 5 categories, those are just ideas, but I think having those 5 or 6, maybe there are 4 categories that you can then spider off of, because those little legs, those little spider properties right there, those become your baby steps, right? Hold on, I gotta shut him up. Okay, sorry. The UPS lady and the dog was going ballistic. So these are your baby steps, right? Into kind of the short-term goals, right? Those measurable, attainable, time sensitive, realistic goals, right? Like education or meditating, that's a realistic goal. That's something that you can do like in, when you get off this call. Anybody can meditate. And I'm not pushing meditation. That's not, I'm just trying to share with you things that I needed to read, I needed to characterize in order to figure out how I was going to have that growth last year. And this year it's different for me. But also I do want to evolve on some of the things that I did write in here last year. Some of the things I didn't accomplish, for obvious reasons. um, 2 months into the year, when you're going to have to flip the script, you're like, okay, so what's plan B, or what is plan C, D, E, and F? And I think the reminder of this is that it's okay and it's always subject to change. You could paint this beautiful picture of what you want and envision for the new year. And I also really, really encourage you guys to stop thinking that it has to be because it's the new year. I think we're all motivated and incentivized by it because we're all tired of, I feel like this week is like that blur week, right? And I think a lot of people are we're over the festivities. We've enjoyed it, Thanksgiving, all the way through Christmas. And then the new year comes, we're like, all right, we're ready to start anew. And I think we're just conditioned that way, and that's okay. But I want you to condition and remind yourself that it's okay to do this and think that way every single month, because I think we need to recalibrate every single month. And in talking with my clients, and particularly in regards to our eating for energy and this, the hormone approach I take, is that every season there is change within our body. The barometer changes, the weather changes, so your hormones naturally adjust. And I think that it is really, really vital to the whole process of your long-term goal is to reassess and identify, did you accomplish anything that you have so far? Where are you on track with hitting those short-term goals in order to reach the long-term goal? What do you need to recalibrate? What do you need to maybe adjust? Or maybe your goal changed because, life changed. Maybe your husband gets a job change and that means you're leaving and you're moving. Or your boss gets laid off and you get promoted to their job, or you get laid off and then you're forced to make a decision. What do you do? Do you go and find another job? Do you start a business? Do you, what is it? Maybe a family member falls ill and you're now their caregiver. So all those things have to be reassessed because those are things that we don't really, we can't brain map, like I certainly don't want to brain map some of those things because I don't want them to come true, but sometimes they do. And we just have to adapt and adjust, just as we did in March. It took us some time. There's a really funny meme. I just posted it as a video that my friend shared. I don't know if you guys watch Schitt's Creek, but it was a really funny, categorizing 2020 from January, February, March. I mean, it's just, I don't know if you watch that show, it'll make sense. But even if you don't, it's pretty funny. But come March, we all kind of had to dwell and, like linger in what the heck is happening. And then are like, okay, we adjusted in April and, we found our new normal, which I really kind of hate that term, but that was kind of what it was. And then things kind of like, okay, they're better. Oh, nope, no, they're not. And that, what's this? You're kind of like one step forward, two steps back. But I found that, and again, I mean, I feel like I'm promoting meditation, which does, I only because it's done so much for me, but I felt like I found a lot of resolve in my emotions and my anger and frustration and anything else that came into my head about what's going on and not having control over things, more so being pissed off, but leveraging that energy and putting it into the good or fighting the good. And so now that is something that comes out first is, okay, that really sucked. What's the good that just came out of that? Right. So I'll use an example because I probably would have like unleashed on this poor woman last night. My daughter and I came out of the store and she's like, oh, I'm so glad I caught you. I bumped into your car and I was driving my husband's car, his truck. And I'm like, oh God, she was nice as can be. And she's like, I was just writing you a note and I was going to put it on your thing, but I'm so glad I caught you. It was raining. Right. And it was dark and bless her heart, she didn't mean to, but like, had I been like, and you're caught off guard and your property was damaged, you just like, there's just something that I just wanted to like, I knew that I had that ability to be mad, but I was like, you know what? I took a breath. I literally had to take a breath because I'm like, okay, it's not my car. It's my husband's car. He cares more about his car because it was brand new that happened. And I said, okay. I said, you know what? Thank you so much for taking the time to tell me that you did that and for owning up to it, because that takes a lot of integrity. And I think that takes a lot of bravery because it's easy. It was dark and it was in a parking lot where there wasn't really anybody else around. She could have driven off. So I use that as an example to what I learned over time. And it was a lesson that I taught my daughter. And I said, listen, I could have kind of glued on that woman. She didn't mean to do it, but it affected me. It affected us because, now the money has to come out to fix it. But I came home and I said, you know what? Good and bad news. And here's our groceries. We're able to go. And I said, and a nice woman left you a note. And he's like, what the hell happened? And I said, she bumped your car, but she left a note. And there's a scratch, there's a dent and some paint taken off, but she left you a note. She didn't have to. She left you a note. Like, that's the good news. It wasn't some punk kid that did it and ran off. Like, that's the good of it. And you know what? It's just a material thing. And it was just like all of a sudden, poof, it went away. His whole energy about it went away. I was, I never really was upset about it because I don't really get upset about it unless some, person parks like this close to my car and their kid throws it open. Like, you know how irritating that is. But everything happens for a reason. She and I were meant to connect. Just a second. Beautiful. She and I were meant to connect in that parking lot for whatever reason. She probably thought she could have been met with a monster that was going to be completely pissed off with her, but she owned up to it. And I felt like that was like everything that has happened. I remind myself everything's happened for a reason. I think that this whole quarantine thing happened for a reason, as awful it might be. And I hope to God nobody's family was affected by it. Mine was. But, everybody unfortunately has come out in healthy-ish, not 100%, but looking to all the good that came of it. I learned so much. And so I want you guys to reflect. I hope you do. It's not like I can give you marching orders, but I hope that you can reflect on, before you do all this, reflect on what 2020 was for you. And that was a page that I wrote in my journal yesterday, after my meditation, is what did I learn from it? What did I get out of it? And then what do I want to propel? What am I going to take into the new year that was good? What did I learn? And a lot of that, I learned how to adapt in situations, how I learned to just quickly reassess and also reflect that onto the kids and remind them, right? That we don't always have control of environmental things or whatever, but if we can learn to adapt and adjust and go forward, we're going to be a stronger person, and we're going to be able to influence other people to live like that as well. And with any luck, we'll make the world just a little bit of a better place when we leave it behind by our actions, and people will hopefully remember how we behaved to them or responded to them in a situation, versus unleashing. And that's always when I go back to, if I, unleashed with the kids, I'm like, oh my God, I don't want them to ever remember that. Right? I don't want anyone to ever remember me for being or doing something terrible. I always want to be remembered as doing something good. Everybody does, right? So blessing and releasing anything that may be hardships that you had from this last year or any year going forward, if you continue with this practice. And then going into the new year, what that big goal is, brain dumping it all out there, categorizing it so it's a little prettier and easier to follow. Or maybe, your thoughts come out in a nice orderly fashion on one piece of paper. Awesome. And then getting this onto a brain map, and whether that brain map gets transformed into a pretty visual onto a vision board, and it's somewhere that you can frame and put in your office. I love reminding people to take a picture of it and have it as a screensaver. But most importantly, creating that word or that theme or that mantra that you are going to remind yourself of every day. It's a sticky note in your bathroom on the mirror. It is on your phone. It is on your computer. It is on your refrigerator. It is on your wall. It is anywhere and everywhere that you need. Like, I don't care if you have 85 stickers all over your house. It's in your car. It is, you can go and download apps that remind you. You can put it on your calendar to remind you every morning. Like, there's so many ways that and I think that conditioning, because I do think we are conditioned in just about everything, which is good and bad, but I do think we can condition ourselves to believe and live that truth, that mantra, that word, that theme, so long as we remind ourselves of it every day. And that is attached to what that long-term goal is, but yet it does have a connection to the short-term goal, the baby steps that are going to get to that short-term goal, right? And then those short-term goals that you can cross off, and then you can recalibrate, like, okay, cool, I got my certification, or I got that promotion, or you know what, I picked off 10 pounds. What's next? There's always got to be something that you can grow and evolve on and change from, right? And then if you are like the color coordinated person, then like 1 year, where's mine? I think it's in here somewhere. 1 year, I think this is my one I did before. I keep them all together. Look at this one. This was 2019. Holistic career. Was it 20? Yeah, this was going into 2019. I wanted a holistic career. And that was my decision in going back and figuring out what certification I was going to get to be able to do that. And so last year was basically November, and Terry is one of them that actually can attest to it because she was in my beta group. Is growing a holistic practice. This nutrition practice was something that I really wanted to have be the forefront of what I got to do. And so I appreciate and I find strength and I find growth within it. And that's why I truly believe that people come into your life for a reason. And I hope that I came into your life for a reason. I know you guys came into my life for a reason. And I hope anybody that comes into your life for whatever reason. And I think that poor Denise last night that hit my husband's car came into my life for a reason, right? Whether it was just that passing of, human interaction, and just the acknowledgement of emotions and, not defeat, but just, just acknowledgement. So, I hope that all of this becomes something that you guys practice. And I urge you to reassess it every single month. Maybe you set a reminder on your calendar at the end of January and see where you're at this. Have I made any steps, baby steps that are going to help me get towards that bigger goal? And if you hit that big goal by February, awesome. Then what is that new bigger goal going to be? And always learn and grow from it and find ways to influence it in any way that you can. So, oh, thanks, Morgan. What a great note. So I don't know if anyone has anything they want to share. That's really kind of all I had. I was hoping to give you guys kind of a visual through examples that I have done over the years. But I'd love to hear what you guys are working on, or if there's something you want to message me. I know not everybody knows each other, so we might not feel comfortable saying it, but I'll let you guys unmute yourselves if you have anything you want to share. And if not, otherwise, I'm just grateful that you guys hopped on here live, and I hope that you guys do great things. But I'll zip my trap for a second in case anyone wants to share anything.
Well, thanks, Karen. I thought that was pretty great.
Oh,
I appreciate all your samples. I think my big word for this year is continuity in everything I do. And that's where I'm going to lead off of. So continuity with my eating, maintaining my weight, patience, like with my dad, continuity in writing down my foods, and then figuring out my triggers. Those are like my outside categories, for my continuity, and then we'll just kind of see how that evolves. I normally am the magazine person. So I'm trying something new this year. So I'm excited to try this method.
Yay. Well, but if the magazine method works, like maybe that's just like an accessory to it. But I love your word. I love it, Terry.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing it.
Yeah, thank you.
And that's what I think is that I want the word. No problem, Maria. Thank you for coming. I want the word to be a theme that it can be like that. Like Terry said, continuity. I have a friend and I hesitate to steal hers, but it resonated with me so much. And her word was nourish. And you can nourish. She just wanted to nourish her body. She wanted to nourish her soul. She wanted to nourish her family and nourish her relationships. And so that word, I want it to be able to feed into all of those things. That is the big term goal with those little smaller goals. So that was a super great example. And I'm glad that you shared what your word was.
Great.
Anybody else have anything they want to share? No pressure. Don't feel obligated at all. Yeah, are you getting your doll?
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so real quick, because this is my lunch hour. You guys are like, what, 3 hours behind me?
Some of us are, yes. Well, Michelle is actually on your time zone too.
So,
Florida.
hold on a sec. Can't hear. What'd I do?
Okay.
So real quick, mine is balance. I need to find a balance of someday I'd like to accomplish the meal prepping. I mean, Terry, you kill it. I think a lot of things for me is just trying it and afraid of, I know there's no fail at it, but I just don't know how to like start it. I sort of kind of do, but Sundays come and I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot to make a list. And I hate going to the grocery store and figuring it out. I did so much better when I started this whole bad nutrition thing, because it was exciting and new. Not that it's not exciting and new, but I think it's that next level at accomplishing that goal of nailing it, getting my better meals. Do you know what I mean? So I need to balance that out with what's going on in my life and letting things come in, and then it just throws me off. It doesn't take much for things to throw me off. I know I messaged Terry a few weeks ago about how I was like a mess. So I'm back on track. I feel so much better. Like I had so much angriness in me. It was unbelievable. Like I was like off wonkers, like terrible. So thank God I figured that out. So in the holidays, it really stressed me out because I haven't been able to see my kids. So it's really hard. I can't believe I'm getting upset. I think it's because I don't talk about it, not even to my husband. So it's very stressful. I know I don't have little ones, but just the stress that making them feel good, myself good. I'm getting on like a care package to them. It's hard. But anyways, I just need to find that balance. And it's hard for me to focus at night and read. I was so like into it when Terry used to throw us stuff out there and Taryn, just the two of you, like just stuff, and I just engulfed it. But I think as the months went on, I think it just became harder to focus. And I just feel so drained at night. Like my brain doesn't want to stop thinking, and I can't pick what I need to think about. So it was hard, but balance. So that's what I'm going to try more hard at, is to balance everything. And you know, I volunteer a lot of things here at work, and because I like to do it, but it's hard to fit it in, and I think I take on too much. So I need to reel that in at what I do, because what I took on was COVID tracing. So I call people and quarantine them. And it just consumes me, you know, a little bit more than I kind of want, because I don't watch the news. It just is too depressing, all that kind of stuff. So my focus is always this. And I don't mean to make everything so negative and bring you guys all down, and you guys all have sad faces. But I haven't let go of this, and I'm surprised at myself. But thank you for listening. And I'm going to get going now. And yeah, I'm still here, and it was good seeing you all, and I'm glad I listened in, because I like listening to these things and hearing different things, and I do make mental notes of it, and I have to write things more down. But I do need to get back at that little journal book that you sent us, and Terry's fantastic organizational calendar thing. You know, I have it, and I have it sitting there, but like, I know I talked to Taryn about it, how I get paralyzed. You know, I don't know. It's hard to jumpstart it, I guess. But anyways, thank you all for listening.
Oh, you're welcome. Can I just say one thing real quick? Is I had a problem with balance too. And what I did is I just set aside, okay, I'm going to 5 minutes just to start that process with those baby steps. And then the next day, maybe it's 5 minutes again, and maybe the next day after that, it's 10 minutes. And then I just kind of worked up. So just pick one thing. Maybe it's reaching out to your kids every day for 5 minutes, you know, or just to find that balance, or maybe it's reading for 5 minutes. But I did that at the beginning of 2020, and that really helped. So just maybe try just a few minutes. And maybe if it's not a nighttime thing, maybe it's a lunchtime thing. You know, maybe just carve out, you know, that little bit of time would be my recommendation. And that's kind of how I started getting, kind of how I kind of figured out I went from balance to continuity. And so
Yeah, it makes sense because it seems like in my brain, I'm like, gotta jump right in, gotta get it all out and do like 10 things all at once. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, thank you for that. Gonna start that tonight. Like get out my organizational thing and just take 5 minutes to fill it out and yeah, do that.
And set a timer, like set yourself an alarm or a reminder, like 8 of them on your phone if you have to. Like just kind of we talk about with water. Set a reminder every hour to drink water, but set a reminder
Yeah,
at
because
8:55
before I
every night.
always made time to fill out that book, and
Yeah.
now I don't mentally make time. I have the time, but
And now
I-
you need it.
Yeah.
Well, I hope it was helpful to just share, and you've got a very safe place to do that. I mean, that's what I hope that you find in our community. And if you ever need to hop on the phone with me or I can help you in any way, Mona, please just let me know. I don't want you to ever feel like you're like, treading water by yourself. And, everybody needs something. And even sometimes it's just dumping it out on an email or a voice message or whatever. Like, just know that, most any of us will be there to listen.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, ladies.
Terry, we'll talk to you later. I'll message.
All right. I'll message you back.
Well, thanks,
Okay.
ladies, for being on here. And Michelle, I know you're putting your little one down. So I hope you guys got something out of this. And thanks for being on with me. And I look forward to all the amazing things that we are going to create and be in 2021. Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.